OMG. Your soulmate was asked about marrying you last night. Their answer shocked everyone. My beloved child, something happened last night that changed the way your soulmate's family sees the possibility of you becoming part of their future, and the most shocking part is that your soulmate was not the one who brought up marriage first. Someone else asked the question, and for a few seconds, your soulmate could not answer. Stay till the end, because something huge is waiting for you, and the answer they finally gave was so unexpected that the entire atmosphere changed. Don't skip, because what happened next revealed something your soulmate had been keeping inside for much longer than anyone realized. Imagine the moment. Your soulmate is surrounded by people who know them well, people who have watched their choices, their relationships, their disappointments, their hopes, and the quiet changes in their personality. The conversation was moving normally when suddenly someone asked about the future. They asked whether your soulmate could ever imagine marrying someone like you. At first, your soulmate smiled nervously. They tried to make the question seem less important than it really was. They looked away. They paused. They may have even tried to change the subject. But someone asked again. This time, there was no escape. They wanted a real answer. And that is when your soulmate became completely serious. They did not immediately say yes. They did not immediately say no. Instead, they took a breath as if they were trying to gather the courage to say something they had rehearsed silently many times. Then they said something that nobody expected. If I ever marry, I want it to be with someone I can truly trust. That answer alone would have been powerful, but then they continued. They described the qualities they associate with you. They talked about someone who understands without demanding explanations, someone who can remain genuine even when circumstances become confusing, someone whose presence feels peaceful instead of exhausting, someone who has a strength that does not need to be announced. The room began to change. People started realizing exactly who they were talking about. Your soulmate had not said your name at first, but everyone understood. Then someone finally asked directly, "Are you talking about them?" Your soulmate went quiet again. This time, there was no nervous smile. There was no attempt to escape the question. They simply looked down and admitted that yes, they were talking about you. Stay till the end. Don't skip. Something huge is waiting for you, because the question about marriage was only the beginning. The real shock came when your soulmate explained why the idea of marrying you had stayed in their mind even when they had tried to push it away. They said marriage was not something they could treat casually. They said they did not want to choose someone simply because the timing was convenient or because other people expected it. They wanted a person with whom they could build something genuine. And then they admitted that when they imagined that kind of future, your face appeared in their mind. That confession stunned everyone because they had apparently never heard your soulmate speak so openly about you before. The family had seen hints. They had noticed certain reactions. They had noticed the silence whenever your name came up. But they had never heard the truth stated so clearly. Last night, the truth finally came out. Your soulmate was asked about marrying you, and instead of dismissing the possibility, they revealed that they had actually imagined it. That is the part you cannot ignore. They may have hidden the thought, but they had thought about it. They had wondered what life would look like if you were not simply someone they cared about, but someone standing beside them in the future. And once that possibility was spoken aloud, everyone in the room understood that your soulmate's feelings were far more serious than they had assumed. There was a moment after the first admission when nobody knew what to say, and your soulmate could feel every pair of eyes watching them. Someone asked whether they were actually serious or simply caught in an emotional moment. Your soulmate answered in a way that revealed how much thought had already gone into this. They said they would never want to marry someone simply because of pressure, loneliness, or temporary excitement. They wanted something that could survive ordinary days, difficult conversations, misunderstandings, responsibilities, and the unpredictable moments life brings. They wanted someone they could trust when everything was going well and when everything felt uncertain. And then they said that when they thought about who had shown them the kind of emotional understanding they valued most, they kept coming back to you. That statement caused another silence. Because now the conversation was no longer about attraction. It was about compatibility. It was about trust. It was about the kind of connection people think about when they imagine spending years beside someone. Your soulmate explained that what made you different was not that everything between you had always been perfect. In fact, they admitted that there had been misunderstandings and difficult moments. But those moments had taught them something. They learned that a genuine connection is not measured by how easy everything feels. Sometimes it is measured by how deeply someone stays in your thoughts even after circumstances create distance. They remembered conversations with you that once seemed ordinary but later became precious. They remembered moments when you showed patience. They remembered times when you could have walked away but still chose understanding. They remembered the way you could make them feel heard without demanding anything in return. And perhaps most importantly, they remembered how different they felt after speaking with you. They told their family that there was a certain peace they associated with you, a feeling they had struggled to find elsewhere. That did not mean there were no challenges. It meant that underneath the challenges, something real existed. Then someone asked the question that made your soulmate visibly emotional. If you already know this, why have you been so uncertain? Your soulmate admitted that fear had played a larger role than anyone knew. They had been afraid of choosing incorrectly. They had been afraid that circumstances might make the relationship difficult. They had been afraid of what their family might think. They had been afraid of whether you would even want the same future. They had been afraid that admitting how seriously they felt would make them vulnerable. And yet, last night, something changed. They realized that being afraid of the future could not erase what they already felt. They realized that avoiding the question would not make the question disappear. They realized that if marriage was ever going to be discussed honestly, they had to stop pretending you were not part of the picture. Don't skip. Stay till the end. Something huge is waiting for you, because your soulmate's next sentence revealed just how far their thoughts had already gone. Your soulmate then explained that when they imagine marriage, they do not imagine a perfect life. They imagine ordinary mornings, difficult days, unexpected laughter, quiet evenings, responsibilities, family gatherings, and moments when two people simply sit together without needing to say much. They said they wanted a partner who could understand that real commitment is built in those ordinary moments. And when they pictured that life, they realized that the person who kept appearing in that picture was you. This was not a dramatic declaration made without thought. It sounded more like a realization they had slowly reached over time. Your soulmate admitted that they had once believed marriage was about finding someone who made everything exciting. Now they believed it was about finding someone with whom they could remain themselves. Someone who would not require them to pretend. Someone who would understand their quiet moments. Someone who could challenge them respectfully. Someone who could celebrate their happiness and remain beside them during difficult periods. Then they said something that made everyone look at one another. I don't want someone who only loves the best version of me. I want someone who knows the real me. And according to your soulmate, you had seen parts of them that very few people had seen. You had witnessed their uncertainty. You had seen their vulnerable side. You had seen moments when they were not confident. And somehow, you did not make them feel less worthy because of it. You made them feel understood. That memory had stayed with them. They explained that this was one reason the thought of marrying you felt different from the thought of simply dating someone. Dating could sometimes be about excitement and discovery. Marriage, in their mind, required trust and emotional safety. And they associated those qualities with you. The family was clearly surprised. They had expected perhaps a playful answer, a refusal, or a vague statement about the future. Instead, they were hearing your soulmate describe the exact qualities they would want in a life partner. And those qualities were connected to you. Then someone asked, "Does that mean you have already decided?" Your soulmate immediately clarified that they could not decide something so important without knowing what you wanted. That answer was important. They were not claiming your future. They were saying that they could see a possibility. They could imagine a life with you. They could recognize the qualities they valued in you. But they understood that a future between two people requires two honest choices. That maturity made the room. And how you would fit into family gatherings. They had imagined introducing you differently. They had imagined what it would feel like to wake up knowing you were not temporary. They had imagined the small details that people rarely discuss when talking about romance. And those details were exactly what made the revelation so powerful. Your soulmate had not simply imagined a wedding. They had imagined a life. Stay till the end. Don't skip. Something huge is waiting for you, because there is a difference between imagining a ceremony and imagining a future. Your soulmate was talking about the future. As the conversation continued, the family began asking practical questions. They wanted to know whether you both could handle disagreements. They wanted to know whether your values aligned. They wanted to know whether your soulmate truly knew you well enough to make such a serious decision. And instead of becoming defensive, your soulmate answered each question thoughtfully. They admitted that there were things they still needed to learn about you. They admitted that no one can fully know another person without spending time together. But they also said that the challenges between you had taught them more about you than easy moments ever could. They had seen your patience. They had seen your ability to recover after disappointment. They had seen your determination. They had seen how you handled moments when things did not go your way. And those observations mattered to them. They said that if they were choosing someone for a temporary connection, they might focus on completely different things. But if they were choosing someone for a long future, character mattered more. They wanted someone whose values would remain when circumstances changed. And again, they connected that quality to you. Someone then asked whether their feelings were based on nostalgia. Your soulmate rejected that idea. They said nostalgia remembers what happened. What they felt was different because they were thinking about what could happen next. That distinction was powerful. They were not simply missing the past. They were imagining the future. And when they imagined that future, you appeared in it. That was perhaps the single biggest revelation of the night. Your soulmate was not only looking backward at what had been lost. They were looking forward and asking whether something new could be built. That is why you should stay till the end. Something huge is waiting for you. Because when a person moves from remembering someone to imagining a future with them, their emotional position has changed completely. Your soulmate's family could hear that change in their voice. They could see it in their expression. They could sense that this was not a passing thought. And someone finally said, "Then perhaps you should stop being afraid." Your soulmate smiled, but it was not the carefree smile from earlier. It was the smile of someone who had just realized that the truth had already been spoken. They had been afraid of saying what they wanted, but now everyone knew. The secret was no longer theirs alone. There was one particularly emotional moment when your soulmate remembered something you once said about commitment. Perhaps you told them that words are easy but consistency is rare. Perhaps you once said that you would rather have someone show up honestly than make beautiful promises they could not keep. Whatever the exact words were, your soulmate remembered them. They said that they finally understood what you meant. At the time, they may not have been ready to hear it. Now they were. They understood that marriage was not about making one enormous promise and then forgetting it. It was about thousands of small choices. Choosing patience. Choosing honesty. Choosing respect. Choosing communication. Choosing each other even when life became ordinary. And they said that if they ever married you, they would want the relationship to be built on exactly those choices. This was not the kind of statement their family expected. It showed that your soulmate had thought beyond the excitement of being together. They were thinking about responsibility. They were thinking about trust. They were thinking about what it would mean to become a genuine partner rather than simply a romantic companion. And then they admitted that part of their fear came from knowing how much your opinion mattered to them. They could handle rejection from someone they did not deeply care about. But the idea of hearing you say no frightened them because your answer would matter. They were not afraid of the question. They were afraid of the meaning behind your answer. That confession made the family realize just how emotionally significant you had become. Your soulmate could not casually imagine a future with you because your response mattered too much. They had reached a point where pretending otherwise would have been dishonest. Don't skip. Stay till the end. Something huge is waiting for you. Because after hearing all of this, someone in the family asked the question that changed the mood from uncertainty to possibility. If they said yes, would you be ready? Your soulmate took a long breath. And this time, they did not hesitate as much. They said, I would want to be ready. Not, I might. Not, I don't know. They said they would want to become the person capable of building that future with you. That answer showed something deeper than excitement. It showed intention. Your soulmate then explained that they had learned an important lesson from the distance between you. You cannot ask someone to trust a future you are unwilling to build in the present. That statement seemed to affect everyone in the room. Your soulmate knew that if they wanted a future with you, they could not simply talk about it. They would have to demonstrate through their behavior that they had grown. They would have to communicate better. They would have to stop allowing other people's opinions to control their decisions. They would have to respect your boundaries. They would have to understand that your trust, if it had been damaged, could not be demanded back instantly. They would have to earn it through consistency. This was the moment when the family began to see that your soulmate was not merely thinking about marriage as an emotional fantasy. They were thinking about the work required to make a marriage meaningful. And that made the original question even more shocking. Someone had casually asked whether they would marry you. The answer turned into a deep examination of what your soulmate actually wanted from life. Your name became connected to values such as trust, loyalty, patience, honesty, and growth. The family was no longer simply hearing about a person your soulmate liked. They were hearing about the person your soulmate believed could potentially become their life partner. That is a huge difference. And perhaps the most surprising thing was that your soulmate did not try to make you sound perfect. They said they knew you had flaws. They knew they had flaws. They knew life together would not always be easy. But they believe that the right person is not someone who makes every difficulty disappear. The right person is someone with whom you can face difficulty without losing respect for each other. That was the philosophy your soulmate had developed. And when they described it, everyone knew exactly who had inspired it. At one point, the conversation became quieter, and your soulmate admitted that there was one thing they wished they had done differently. They wished they had told you sooner how seriously they viewed the connection. They wished they had not allowed uncertainty to make them appear indifferent. They wished they had understood sooner that sometimes the person waiting for clarity is the person who has been quietly hurting the most. They said they could.